Oh, hi. Hello, everyone. Hi, Kira.
Hello.
Hi, Megan.
Hello.
Welcome to a new UX problem of the week. Problem of the week. I think, well, we're fixing the world one UI at a time today, and yeah, we have another one. We have part of the crew here with Megan and Kira. Will work on it. So again, if you want to comment on what's your best solution or whatever. Don't hesitate. And if you have a problem, please share it to us. We'll gladly work on it for free. Come on. Exactly. So I did find a great problem in the UX Stack Exchange, and I'm pretty sure you'll love it. Here it is. Let me share you, because it's on Whimsical. Let me share to the team the Whimsical so you can access it, so you can read it. Sorry, I didn't get it. So it's in the private chat. So if you want to take a look at it, and yeah, Kira, when you're ready, you can read it. I'm pretty sure you will love it because it's multi-selection, multi-pages, complicated, a lot of stuff with backhand. Let's have fun.
All right. Cool. Before I start, okay, thanks. I was like, I can't start reading this with overlapping text anywhere. Okay. All right. So the UI case. The UI allows a multi-selection option. There is no limit to multi-selection. Users can select from 1 up to like millions of items, essentially. Processing flow. When the user triggers an action based on the number of items to be acted upon, there will be a delay in the server. Okay. We have a standard rule from our backend. If the number of items is less than 300, all transactions will be done like synchronously with the database. The response will be given to the client. If it is more than that, we will queue the transactions and inform the user that the actions are queued. So we receive the successive items once one by one as the message when the queue is processed. Based on the message, we will update the UI if the UI is in view. It will be smooth if the user is in the same view. Users will be able to see the items that are getting processed. Okay. I'm thinking of having a status widget where users will be able to see the success status of their bulk actions. As our backend serves a very large user base, all operations are queued and transactions are. Users can trigger bulk actions and keep on working on the same or other parts of the UI. There are no restrictions as of now. I want to present a better UX with respect to items that are already under processing. Okay, so then the example is the Outlook kind of UI. You'll have several folders. You can multi-select 10,000 emails in a folder and bulk delete it. After triggering the action, you can move to another folder or keep going. In this case, I want to give a better UX. The status widget is one such solution. Other solutions are welcomed. As of now, we inform the user that it is a scheduled action and will update the UI one by one after processing. Users won't be able to find which items are under processing and whether it is completed or not.
Hooba.
Ooh, mama.
There's so many questions. There's already solutions in the question. That's intriguing when someone asking a question and provide a solution at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it's much better written than most of the ones out there. Just a little easier to understand, I feel like, than we're used to. So that's cool.
So what do you think is the root of the problem here? Or the outcome that we want absolutely to do? Let's not think about widget. Let's not think about,
Yeah. I mean, the big thing with this is system status. Indicating system status really clearly is the problem, I think, that we're trying to solve. I think what makes it tricky is that you do have two different behaviors based on the amount of stuff that's happening. So the 300 transactions will just be done synchronously, like kind of instantly, versus the other ones get queued. So there's kind of two behaviors to handle. So that's sort of interesting.
I find this restriction really important too. The last sentence, the user won't be able to find which items are being processed and whether it's completed or not. I think if we had the developers here, that'd be something I definitely want to ask more about. Like, you know, how can we work around this? What are the options? Is it just 0? That would impact a lot.
Yeah, totally. Because if there's some kind of like state that they can capture on the list items or whatever they are, at least you know that it's gonna get worked on. But but this person's saying that as of now, you don't really understand that it's basically that your action was successful or it's going to be successful.
Well, I find the wording like kind of interesting. So you won't be able to find which items are under processing. So maybe it means you won't know, A.pdf or it's B.pdf. But maybe I wonder if you'll be able to know, 500 out of 922 have been processed, or is there any sort of other thing that we can indicate, even say percentage-wise, we're roughly 73% done. That's not rough, but what can we communicate, Lily?
And there's also like a context of communicating in the UI if they're on that page is one thing that was mentioned, versus something a bit more agnostic, like a notification or something when things are ready.
Like they can leave, keep working. Yeah.
Oh, you have to. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. So it doesn't have to be on that page. Could be somewhere else, or.
Right now, they just have the feedback if you're on the page. It looks like, but they're also trying to improve the UX.
So that's a problem that we see a lot when we want to see everything where we're doing stuff. You're multi-selecting. You want to see, the input, the output, what you're doing on the same screen, and on one screen. And that's sometimes that's asking a lot. That's a lot. Even more when there's things happening, in back scene, and when there's thing, it's very hard to do that in one screen.
It is. Often you just can't really do it if things in one screen with one like mechanism. They're like you need to reinforce things as well.
So maybe we can, work in chunks. The multi-selections. What's the do and don'ts here? What we can do, basic stuff.
I would say my first thing I would want to talk to the devs about, but I would be that like once you do your multi-selection of your list items, you probably have an action button at the top of the screen with a total of the amount of things you're applying an action to. I would hope that we could change the state of the list items.
So
that would like a UI indicator of some kind.
Change the state. Can you
highlight?
prototype something?
Yeah. Well, we could have, because let's just say, should we assume that this is a deletion use case mainly? Because that's kind of what they
could be.
Bulk deleted.
Oh, did they say bulk?
Yeah, in the example.
Delete.
Yeah. One that 10,000 bulk deleted.
That's just an example, but it's the most critical example if you're deleting something.
Yeah.
But let's say it's just bulk actions in general. So you
Yeah.
would like to change the state of the item that you selected in this screen or elsewhere?
I would want to do it right on the list item.
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you have multi pages?
Well, there would be a couple of steps I'd probably want to do. Because you need a couple of states, I feel like, for the list items. You need like a default state, of course, that they already have selected, and then some kind of confirmation state that an action has been applied to that list item. But there could also be something that would be confirmation or like success UX that would show within or nearby the action that you just executed. That would be like what I would think about doing right away.
So you select and you have this space here when you can say good or bad. Okay. So it's one by one, that's what you're saying. It's
Well, yeah. So then say you hit your action, whether it's delete or it's export, whatever it is. And then you're going to different pages and things like that. And you could just glance at that list item and be like, oh, I did actually do that one. Because you want to know that you're not going to like try to do the same action, even if it's queued, because you could get a weird, I don't know, race condition or just something would mess up real bad.
so we have, it's done, it's ongoing, or there's an error.
Yeah.
Got it. And if there's an error, how can we fix it? Do we know it
System.
one by one, or
System error, like this item failed to delete kind of thing.
maybe it's bulk actions? I don't know what could be the actions. So let's start.
take you into the territory of history, like history of your actions too. If they are this big, it feels like it brings up those questions of undo and history and versioning and things like that seem to come up when we talk about bulk actions.
It's true. Huh?
Because the one thing I really loved in Jira, there's a lot of good things in Jira, but you could go into your own page and see what you know. Like you could go and see your own history and then you'd be like, oh no, I moved this project into this thing or I did something crazy, and you could then see what you did. It was so handy.
Yeah.
We don't have that in our current tool.
Okay, so let's start by building a table and see how it will look. I'll let you play.
I'm going to just wireframe, do a little wireframey guy somewhere.
Good, start that. And I assume that, the history of their log could be another page, could be somewhere else.
The which? Sorry, Benoit?
The history of their logs, or what they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Okay.
Do we want to do like an omnibar at the bottom? Could do that.
Let's start design the omnibar. Kira will start the table and we'll bring it together.
I'll give it a shot here. Let's see.
Where are you?
We're just to the left of the
Oh, there it is.
screenshot. Yeah. Okay.
So what's an omnibar, Megan?
A little bar that just floats on top of the content that appears when you've made some selections.
And it's useful because?
It kind of floats outside of the UI, so it can be applicable in a very specific instance. So let's say we have bulk items selected, then just the actions that would apply to that would appear here. It's kind of nice too. Rather than having like say a sticky header, we can just have this floating on top, let's say at the bottom. We see this on Figma, which I really like, and you can quickly refer to the things, what you've done and what you can do.
Yeah, and it's nice and agnostic of the UI in that you can go to page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's a state of the flow that you're working on.
That's very interesting. It's more interesting sometimes. And Omnibar is a great solution for multi-pages. That's right. That's how you can fix it. And I found also Omnibar to be useful on smaller devices also.
Yeah, and it's a nice little chunk of real estate because you can usually get in a bit of guidance in there too, as well as system feedback. So it says, here it just says 35 items selected, but it could say these things are you're able to delete or export or blah blah blah. So we could talk about things that you're allowed to do, or gotchas or things like that. So we have like a real estate to do things with.
Guidance and feedback in one little component. And it's, and we don't have to scroll back, on top to see how much we selected, and we still have the context anywhere we are going. So that's great. Yeah. It's great Omnibar. And that's true that we can, from the Omnibar, maybe navigate to the logs or the history, or any kind of feedback. That's great. That's true.
So one way to deal with, I guess, there's sort of like different levels. There's like in component kind of feedback that we need to create. Then we need to think about the queue thing, and then we need to think about communicating that your queue is done, right? Those are the main things, I think. What do we want to do? Do we want to pretend there's notifications in this product, or do we want to do it with this bot? Like, what do we...
Here's some more questions I would love to ask the developer.
Yeah,
because it kind of makes a difference if I've selected, say, 1,000 things, and this is going to be over. My thing is going to be exported or whatever. Something's going to happen in a matter of minutes, hours, or days. Then that kind of depends. If this is my tool and I know it's going to take 2 days, I don't necessarily want something telling me what's going on the whole time I'm working on this, especially if it's an enterprise product. If it's something like a couple minutes, seconds, maybe that's something we want available, versus if it's something like, just email me when it's done, or notification thing. That's an option for like the middle ground or later stages, I would say.
Yeah, especially for something like an export where, like this person did talk about how you can still work on the UI. We can't necessarily assume that you can't work on the actions that are queued, or on the items that are queued. You might still be able to work on them, especially if it's export. I mean, if it's delete, that would be sort of weird to update as you're deleting.
Yeah.
So like super good point on that one.
If we look at the question, we can assume a couple of things. So they have, standard rules from our backend. So if the number is less than 300, I think it's because, if it's less than 300, go ahead. If it's more than that, maybe there's security 1, 2, or 5. There's a problem. So it's maybe more security things, or just maybe because, the infrastructure is not that efficient. So we feel like it's not something in days. Can be done, in a matter of minutes or an hour maximum, because ideally for what I see it will be instantly, So let's assume it's pretty much instant. And let's assume also that in the list, in the table, there's maybe a column where we have, the state of it or what we want to do, because, we can do a lot of things like block, forward, change the state to something else. So it's, let's say that the stage what we're doing, it's actually in the UI.
Okay.
Just assume
Yeah.
that.
So then,
And, yeah.
yeah. I'll also maybe mention too, it could be really nice to use something like a status column, because you
Status
can,
columns,
if you did it as a column, because usually there's some kind of status that's applies. But I've done it in the past before where I just leave some real estate that's doesn't have a column, and where we can kind of save it for stuff like this.
Yeah, I think that ties into with the activity log. I mean, depending what these 6,000 things are, let's say they're companies or they're like thingies. Maybe you moved folder, maybe you embedded them into another thing or compressed them. There could be that little status update saying like compressed or thing happened 2 minutes ago. That would be really cool.
Can we
depending what
visualize
things are.
it? Can we show? Yeah.
Yeah, we could use the little lozenge guys that we have in Whimsy. Here.
So it's not an export. It's just changing a couple of status, or doing an action without a different outcomes, meaning exporting or PDF. It's just we're in one UI. We're moving stuff. We're changing stuff and modifying stuff.
Yeah, so actually I would show this on another screen because I think this is the state where it's selected, and then we'd have the state where you're actually executing, or you've actually just executed the
Oh, okay, good.
action. So we want to show the thing. Whoop. So, what else? Once
There's a-
you, sorry, go ahead.
Well, in the queue, if it's done, and if there's an error.
Yes.
So in the queue means, I guess this checkbox wouldn't be happening.
Well,
So I've selected, I've done the action.
usually
Wouldn't be
the maintain the selection or not, because it's like it's a lot of feedback to do at once to undo the selection and show the updated status and everything. But it could be that I never know exactly what the right decision is.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maintain the selection, because if you get rid of the selection, they want to undo it.
Yeah.
Then you have to have a good undo action, or you know what I mean.
Okay, so in the first state, we are in the middle of selecting. I see these checkboxes. I can keep clicking and, adding to my 35 items. When I hit that action, I don't think I can, like, that batch is moving forward. I'm not changing the batch around. So that's why I'm kind of wondering what's up with the checkboxes. Maybe the checkboxes disappear. Could be that these rows are still highlighted, but it's not like the time for me to add and remove to the batch of 35 after I've hit my action, right?
Well, yeah, but we'd have to like update this with something, right? Like
35 items are being, because we've already hit this action. So something's happening. They're not selected. They're being processed. They're in the queue.
Is the
Yeah, our
running bar the
process
right place to do that?
Oh, you're thinking it could be a different, wondering if it's a different format, like snack bar or something.
Or an execution, or you
Yeah.
have to go in the logs or history to know what's happening, what happened.
I do like the. Go ahead, Kira.
no, go ahead, Megan.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do like, after I hit an action, I get that feedback. It's nice.
It's important.
Especially if I have 6,000, you know, if nothing happens on screen, then I'm like, do I start over? You know, scary.
Yeah.
My question
So-
is, the feedback doesn't have to be in the Omnibar, or
No,
I think it makes sense
I don't know.
to have feedback closest to where you just executed a thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to just be there. It could, you know, it should tell you at least success feedback.
I mean, but I'm just gonna mess around on something.
please mess around. But that's important. What Kira said, you know, close to the action that you did just before. That's
Like,
useful.
what if
You
something
undo?
happens to the something?
Because we don't want to. Are you sure? That's what you're saying. So we can undo or maybe hide.
Yeah.
But we need to a way to retrieve it after that. So we can maybe add, I don't know, just an indication somewhere here and say that something is happening in the back end, or something is happening.
Well, Megan had a night. So yeah, it kind of depends. Depends if we want to show like how granular of loading feedback we would want to show. Because in this case, we would have 35 items. So 1 of 35, 2 of 35, could be, because we can't really just show a spinner anywhere for this. If it's happening over even a minute, right? It's just spinner is not really adequate.
Well, the question is 300 is, it's instantaneous. And we can say if it's more than 200, now you have a different feedback.
Yeah, that's true.
True. 2 different ways of handling. So let's say there's only 35. This progress bar is going to go zip.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so that feels satisfying. You're like, things are happening. 3 seconds later, we're good. Okay, I feel satisfied that whole thing's closed.
I'm not even sure. I think we can even remove some of it, because 35 will take like a couple of seconds. Think about your email part look like
True.
like developer send. So if it's done, it's done. If it's done, it's done. Right?
Well, one wrench to throw in. Once in a while, if it's email, maybe it's cool, instantaneous, disappearing. But if it's something really, let's say it's financials or it's something that has huge repercussions, even if developmental, like technically, you can make it disappear in a flash, you might just want to pretend it takes up like 2-3 seconds just so that people feel they have a moment to say undo or stop or feel like it's solid.
Yeah. And it's not like, I always feel too with success feedback in general, we're not usually overdoing it. Like that's not usually what the problem is. Usually the problem is that we didn't do it at all. And then people are like, huh? Right?
Absolutely. If we have an undo, that's great. If we don't have an undo, we need different kind of processes, and feedback is even more important. Are you sure? Are you really, really sure?
Exactly. Well, it depends on the stakes, right?
How high risk. If it's, I mean, maybe they don't have an undo, but if they have an activity log and you can revert to a previous version, maybe that suits the needs enough. So it kind of just depends what the stakes are like.
Yeah, because it's like if it's export, who cares?
So if it's instant, what's about the status? Do we really need a status?
I would say we'd have a status, but it would maybe we would time it or something. Like we would it would have an expiry moment. Is this an error, Benoit?
Maybe. What about last modified? And telling maybe the hours and what we did last. Yeah.
Depends on what the action is, but because exporting wouldn't be modifying the object itself, would it?
Yeah, true.
I mean,
and if
every
it was
time
delete, it wouldn't be here even.
So if I did something a week ago, it will be still done. So what's the point of it? I'm imagine you have a list of email like the example is, and you deleted it. Do you want to know still that you deleted it?
Delete is a whole different flow, though, probably from just some kind of
So the action of
action.
delete is just will disappear. But if we change the status, you're right.
So
Makes
done,
sense.
yeah. So like done would just be like it'd be there for a minute, would go away in the UI component, and then be reflected in your history that you did something.
Can we have a tooltip at least telling what's the last time or date or something like that? Or if there's an error, we can fix it.
Where I've seen there's data tables and the status is kind of helpful. I like it on the table.
Oh,
I can't think of some examples. Maybe they've, I don't know, like transferred ownership or assigned to somebody. And it's important enough to be on the table, so it's nice to know, okay, that was actually a week ago or that was a day ago, and that's useful. Often too, there's preferences for data table view, like the columns. So if it's important to me, then if it's visible, that's cool. I kind of see tooltips more for like additional info about that particular, like if it's a acronym, right? Stuff like
and good at the table, you can decide to display it or not if you want.
Right. Yeah.
So that's if it's less than 300. If it's more, we do have this feedback mechanism. And same thing, we have the status and last modified. And the status, the only difference is that and last modified is what?
It would just be the last time that you did a different action or updated that item. So it wouldn't necessarily.
Got it.
I'm just putting a cheeky line in here.
And feel like we need, not an indication page, but a page where, what if it's taking in, the night. We need, to go back somewhere to know if it's all done. Do we need to all the processes because maybe we're doing something here and we're doing, another bulk action somewhere else? Do we have to visit every pages to know what's happening?
Yeah. That's a great point. I think if it's taking hours or overnight, probably we wouldn't want to pursue this sort of thing. Well, I'm just saying because in the case where I should be able to keep working, maybe I'm doing multiple bulk actions every day. Some of them I'm exporting, some of them I'm reassigning to someone else, some of them I'm deleting or just renaming or moving folders. I don't want to have multiple bars down here and know that a couple of them are going to stay for 48 hours or something.
Yeah. I would just put a little cheeky thing in here.
But we can decide to hide it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and aggregate it too. I've seen notifications panels used for this. Like, I don't know if it's the right move or not, where they'll kind of be like fixed and they'll have the loading status showing and the 1 out of blah, blah, blah showing. And then it will turn into, and then it will turn into a notification once it's notification.
So that's why I added this this feature in a way to say, there's how many processes ongoing right now in the system. There's maybe a couple, maybe one, maybe more. And you can use this pill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can stack them out if you want. That would be great, by the way. You can have 12 processes in this page, But if you hide or hide all, go there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You
And,
can hide them. Yeah.
and this is where
True.
the history could actually live as well, right? Because then you have
Oh,
actions, you've like the things that you've done, and you have the things that are queued and in progress at the same time.
not sure about the history because
You'd
this is
probably need a full page view though if you had a history. I feel like most of the time they need like some room to live.
so. Let's change it to something else then. Not this ongoing processes, but states of the system.
Little computer, maybe.
It could be like a little drop down of the recent activity, and then you can say see all, and then it goes to the
Yeah.
full page.
Yeah.
What can be a good icon for that? Computer, really?
Icons are hard.
Icons are hard.
Icons are so hard.
You have something that looks like an engine, maybe.
So
That's good.
it's a computer or a cogwheel or
Yeah.
so.
I would do a running emoji.
But it's also your history, maybe what you did,
Oh yeah.
a
True.
year
Yeah.
ago. So it's maybe love or book,
Clock? Oh,
Blog or book. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
something like a book or something like an archiving, whatever. But it's not right. Not right. What do we know? What we have to do here is what did you do last summer? A page just for you with your picture and say,
And then like, it gets really scary after that.
exactly. So a place where, you see what was, successful, what was not, and you can even navigate from that to this specific item and fix it if you want to. And that's a good thing, by the way, in complex system. I know that, there's a place where I can see everything I did. This is what you love about Jira, for example, Kira.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to Megan's point earlier too, for 12,000 items, given that it's going to take a while, it's not. Some actions could be interruptive, if that's a word. Other items could be not. So there may be some really good "Are you sure?" Modal use cases in here too, where we'd want to just confirm that that's what people want to do and a time estimate if we can get it. But it depends on the stakes, right? Because
Yeah.
export, who cares? But like if you bulk selected and changed a column value on everything or changed access or these things that are kind of a bigger deal, we might want to do something like that.
Yeah, two places where you can, stop it if you want to, in the Omnibar
Yeah.
or in the page. But yeah, depending on the stakes. So let's write the design rationale of this now.
Okay.
So what's the design rationale? We do have a great article about it. Who wrote this wonderful article?
The crew.
It's the crew. I'll link it to it, but a design rationale is something that we just love to do. It's articulating the reason why we did it, and it's a good thing because we may forget why we did things.
Yeah. What were we
Sometimes.
thinking?
And what were we thinking about it? So yes, I'll share the link. Go read it, and it's something that we love to do anyway at PNP. Not just for us, because it's for us very useful. It's again articulating what we're thinking about in a couple of words, but also what we are sharing to the clients or with a team, so we can align to why we're doing it. And this, design rationale is something also we can iterate on and improve, and because it's our unique approach to our design thing. So we love to explain it and just not just send a wireframe and deal with it.
Yes.
Try to
And shout out too, we also have an article for loading and system status, loading feedback.
Let me search it for you.
Which is very applicable to the situation.
Yeah, and tables.
And tables.
It's true.
We've got a lot going on.
We do use our own articles sometimes when we're looking stuff, designing stuff. That's a great reminder. So it's something we do for you and for us at the same time. Yeah. So design rational. If it's less than 200, we initiate a bulk action in an omnibar. And if it's more than 200 items, we'll have more context in the omnibar, and yeah, what to expect. That's a good thing. We can see the progress of it. It's more than 200 items. We can undo things. That's a big thing here. We can undo things. What? Sorry. We can hide it, and reveal it in another, in another part of the system. Good. It's good.
So for a smaller action that's like less than 300, more instant, would we also think that it shows up in this little zone here? I think it probably would, but it wouldn't necessarily give you an indicator, right? Or it would show up in your history, I guess, but it wouldn't show you an indicator because there's nothing to indicate.
I will
ongoing.
assume. Well, if it's ongoing, let's say that we're doing a small batch, just a small batch, but there's one item that will take a little bit longer, and it's not instant. So that could lead to a notification. Most of it are done. This one will take a little bit longer, so that could be a notification. So if it's not instant, I don't want to mistake that with for a bug. Tell me that something is happening right now in the backend. So that's one.
Oh, good point, Megan. Yeah.
What's the point?
So I just put in this less than 300. Some of our design rationale: to initiate bulk action, we'll use an omnibar, which appears once multi-selection begins. Omnibar allows us to house status, number of selected, and some guidance if we want. And also it's easily accessible across pages, which Megan just added in there, which is really important. And then once the action is triggered, table rows will reflect status. Once the action is complete, we'll show status success feedback. We will create a history of actions which will house everything so that we can create transparency for users so they can undo things they've executed. And then, so maybe this actually goes up here. And then, doopity-doop. And then do you guys want to share these ones? You're busy.
Yeah, sure. So basically, bulk actions will have information on the progress and what to expect. I feel like this is important and very situational too. If it's going to take minutes, hours, days, give the user a heads up and what's going to happen. If they're going to, be notified by email or whatever other implications might be there. And they also have their available actions. So in this case, undo and hide. Hide lets us keep the same pattern, but they can kind of get this out of the way and continue on the workflow. So multi-selecting if they want. And also this whole thing about being notified about what to expect next, the users get some transparency and feel kind of empowered and more confident in the product and how they're using it.
And what's next can be displayed in the Omnibar, maybe, or in somewhere else, maybe even in the history booking, clocking, cogging something. We need a workshop just to brainstorm about this. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's very powerful. It's we can use it in different systems, different devices, and different screens.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated to do, by the way. It's just an Omnibar. It's very feasible. I don't see a lot of problem here. It's just a status column that is changing, an Omnibar that we have to design, make sure it's good, and creating a new page. It's not too much UI stuff to do.
Not too much fancy UI stuff to do. We just have to have a good handling on state on the page.
Yeah. That's good work. Good work. Thank you for this, Kira. Thank you for this, Megan. Again, if you have a problem like that, we'll help you fix it, and it's a good moment for us also to geek around and talk about things. So, any last word? No.
Not really.
Check out those articles.
Those articles.
Those articles.
Yeah.
See you, everyone, for another problem.